Tattooing, it's blood, it's pain, it's permanence. You can't just call it in.
Hey, welcome back to the show, to the East West podcast with Horisumi. It's difficult to put these shows on all the time because I'm trying not to just create content for the sake of creating content. I just want to bang out episodes and talk shit. As much as I like talking shit, I want it to have quality to it, and I want my messages to be clear and concise. That's why I've had a bit of a break last few weeks. I'm just trying to think of things to talk about that are relevant, that aren't just filler, right? And also I want to stay positive, because I'm an old guy, right? We got lots to bitch about, lots to bitch about, right? Every old tattooer loves to bitch and moan. Every young tattooer loves to bitch and moan. It's we're like a bunch of fucking hairdressers, right? So I'm trying not to go down that road. I'm sure I'll bitch and moan a little bit in this fucking podcast, but regardless. So, I guess, for the stuff I've been thinking about is, my code, right? What is my code with tattooing? Because some of the comments on some other things are like, oh, you talk a lot of fucking, you're a human just like the rest of us. I'm like, oh no, of course I'm human, but I have a code, right? If you work with me, if you've tattooed with me or tattooed by me, I'm serious. There are things I will not tattoo on you. There's things I won't do, and there's a way that I run my shop, right? To excuse the cigar, I've quit dipping tobacco. I was on the pouches for about 1.5 years, 2 years. On the Copenhagen, on this, on that. Then I put onto these goddamn Zin flavor pouches, it's like vaping blueberry fucking shit, right? Super fucking gay. So I've knocked all the dip away and stuff. So I'm supplementing my nicotine come down with a little cigar here and there, which seems to help. Because if any of you have quit nicotine before, it's a difficult journey, right? So I'm not trying to be pretentious. I've come to enjoy a good cigar. So the code, right? So, there's this old saying, a man without a code is just like an animal, right? And lots of movies have used this line. And, it's throughout the ages, men have developed these codes, like the Bushido code of the samurai and this and that. And I have my code with my tattooing, and I think it comes from, my earliest memories of tattooing in Toronto, Canada, when I was a young little whippersnapper in the punk rock scene there, is that, there's like 3 tattoo shops in town, right? 3. Big city, right? Biggest city in Canada, 3 shops. This was mid-80s. It was the biker shop, there was the little bit better biker shop, and there was the artsy-fartsy biker shop, right? And that was tattooing. If you want tattoos, you went there, right? And, to one of those, right? And everyone in the scene understood what tattooing was and what the rules were, right? It was very fucking clear. We all talked about it. It was just like the spoken, unspoken law of the land, right? And so that has always stuck with me. Even though tattooing's opened up 20 years ago and stuff, that code and that sort of, that honor code of tattooing and that way of tattooing has always stuck with me, which is probably a bit of a stickler for it, right? Because it's how I got brought up. And, it's rules I respected, like you had to learn a certain way. There's certain things you didn't do. You didn't just go open a fucking shop. You had to earn the right to open a shop after tattooing for a long time. All these things that aren't part of today's tattoo culture, right? And so that's why I'm a little bit reclusive. I like making these videos and I love tattooing and I'm busy, but I don't get out much. I don't socialize a lot with other tattooers that don't work with me. I go to the odd convention here and there. Don't particularly enjoy them. I don't like working in cramped, confined spaces. And it's just because I feel, for me, I'm a little bit of an outsider to what tattooing's become. And again, I don't want to be a cranky old guy bitching, so I'm not going to bitch. But my, for the last 15 years, my ethos towards tattooing has been, You know, I'm creating and selling and making tattoos for clients. I'm trying to create this power and this lifelong, I don't know what you call it, man, power symbol, talisman. I'm trying to create this for clients, right? So my focus is on that, right? Being the best I can be, and also being the best I can be at tattooing, but as a person, right? You know, I mean, people, you know, if they choose me as the tattooer or they choose another person as the tattooer, they're essentially wearing our magic, right? It's our art, our magic, or whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, a lot of people don't think like this. I do, you know? It's like a band, right? You listen to a fucking band, but then you find out the band are a bunch of posers. Do you like the music as much, right? Some people will, but some people won't, right? So I try to, you know, because I grew up in this, I aspire to live up to what I do, right? The people that take on and wear my tattoos, I want them to be, you know, content in knowing that what I'm giving them is real, right? When I say real, I mean, you know, I do manly tattoos for men, right? I don't tattoo a lot of women anymore. But I try to, you know, for me, I try to stay fit, try to stay strong. I try to stay honest, you know? These things I think are important, right? You know, would you want a bodysuit by a drug addict, right? Would you want a bodysuit by an alcoholic? Some people might, I wouldn't. I think you buy into the brand when you, and I mean, like, you use these marketing terms, right? But like brand, you know, like I have my brand of tattooing, which comes with everything I do, right? I fucking hate marketing people. I'm just using that so you understand what I'm talking about. You know, I don't want to use some other fucking wanky woo-woo words, right? But, you know, people that buy into my brand can rest assured that what you see is what you get, right? And I think it's important, you know, I don't wear big fucking headphones when I tattoo. I'm not fucking blueberry vaping. You know, I'm not fucking jerking off to fucking trans porn and shit like that. You know, I try to be the real deal with my tattooing because I think it's important, especially with what I do, right? You know, that's enough of that. I think it's important to have your code and live your code and be your code, right? You know, it's like I follow some of these older dudes that talk about, you know, oh, the good old, everyone's talking about the good old days of making needles and but you know, that fumes are really toxic and making needles is a pain in the ass. Meanwhile, I'm looking at these guys and they're overweight, chain smoking, you know, eating shit, right? And they're going on about the fucking a little bit of fumes from making tattoo. Motherfucker, you smoke a pack a day, right? That's way worse than the smoke coming off of fucking making a couple of needles. It's an excuse, right? And that's why I put so much emphasis on, you know, what I do of, you know, making my own needles, making my own inks, you know, drawing everything either freehand or custom, and then, you know, I try to live up to this fucking thing, right? And it's hard, man, you know, but I love it. It's what gets me up in the morning. You know what I mean? It's what gets me up in the morning. So I think it's important, you know, if you're gonna live this life and try and be a, you know, a real tattooer, that you have to be a real fucking tattooer and be a fucking man, right? Or a woman, whatever it is that you're doing, be real about it. You know what I mean? You understand your tools, understand your art, understand what it is the fuck you're doing, right? And live up to it. I mean, how disappointed would you be if you got a back piece from somebody, you know, and you realize that, you know, they were just full of shit. It was all bullshit, you know? Like again, it's, you're buying into the artist as much as you're buying the art of the artist, right? It's a whole fucking thing, in my opinion. And this isn't for everybody, man. This is like what I do, and my belief system is such a small little niche now compared to what tattooing has become, you know? But I don't care about that stuff. You know, I used to write articles and bitch about tattooing, cat out of the bag and fucking, how it's all, you know, I don't care anymore, man. I really don't, right? I just, like I said, I stick to myself. I do my own thing. I don't associate much. You know, I focus on my shop and the people I work with and helping them get better, trying to make myself better. You you know, this kind of thing, right? This is what's important to me now. This is the only thing I can focus on, right? I have my family at home. I've got my 3 kids. You know, I focus on making them into good little humans. I can't affect the outside world any greater than that, right? So it's okay to ride the high road alone. You know what I mean? If you're into this, right, then great. Keep listening. You know? But for me, I mean, I'm driven by meaning and purpose, right? My human experience is driven by that. So without giving purpose or meaning to what I do, to my tattooing and my life, you know, I don't see the point, right? And I guess that's what I'm driving at, right? Is that for me, the tattooing, to put this much effort and passion into what I do, I have to have that meaning and purpose. And that meaning and purpose comes from this code and from living this certain way. You know, in how I conduct myself. But I tell my apprentices, you know, like, my apprentices come to me, they're off the street, they're young, they're raw, who knows what fucking family life they had. And I try and mold them and shape them into what I think they should be, right? Hey, you might not agree with that. Don't fucking care. Don't be my apprentice, right? But that's what I do, right? No different than I'm gonna do with my children, no different than the way I would want my, you know, my Rottweiler to behave in public. I wanna shape my dog to be a good human. I want to shape my tattoo apprentices to be good tattooers, and I want to shape my children to be good humans in the world, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's how I see the world. And my tattooers as well that work here, you know, I try to help them and mold them and guide them and shape them and give them advice on how to be better tattooers, how to be more effective tattooers, right? And how to live up to the ideal that they're setting forth. I mean, tattooing is expensive, and people, you know, they want to believe they're getting value for their money, right? So there's nothing wrong with trying to achieve and aspire to be the best you can be as a person, not just the art that you're outputting, right? You know, and there are people out there that will try to bring you down and tell you that, you know, you're this or that, call you names. You know, it's all fucking bullshit. It's just tattooing. It doesn't fucking matter. And I disregard all that shit, right? Like I said, I've never put my efforts into winning the hearts and minds of other tattooers. I don't fucking care. I have friends that are tattooers, good friends that are tattooers, and that's great. They're my friends. But I've never been a scene stir. I don't give a fuck about what other people think of me. I care about my clients and making good tattoos for my clients, right? Because that's where my focus and my passion lies, right? So that's, you know, without getting too much into what the code is, you guys have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about with my code. I got to keep this video a bit short because you can't post more than 15 minutes on Instagram these days. But the code is to do right by the customer, right? Like I've talked about a million times, right? No hands, no faces, no necks, all that stuff, right? You know, and to stand behind your tattoos. And if your tattoo's not a good idea, don't do it, right? And if you're looking for a tattooer, you know, try to find someone who's fucking real, man. And like, there's a lot of guys like me out there that are doing the right thing, trying to be real, right? Trying to live up to the perception that they put of themselves out there. You know, there are a lot. You got to seek them out, all right? So look, that's a podcast about fucking philosophy today. That's what you get, all right? Because again, I'm trying to keep it fucking positive. I hope this was positive for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and all that sort of stuff. And I'll try and get some more regular stuff out there. I'm just trying to keep it on a good note. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. I don't want it to be a ranty, ravey, fucking grumpy old guy fucking thing. I did a little poll the other day on who watches my podcast. And the majority of people are people that have tattoos and are interested in tattoos. And about 20% of people were tattoo artists. So I'm hoping I can create stuff that interests all of you and keep you coming back for more. If there's some ideas you'd like me to talk about and stuff, hit me up in the comments, hit me up in the DMs, and follow me, subscribe to me, all that sort of shit, all right? And I'll do my best to take on your suggestions on board and try to create some content to go with that. All right, guys? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.